Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful shawl collar top. Yes, the one you voted for. And thanks to all those who voted for this tutorial. I really appreciate you guys. But before we dive in, quick heads up. I also made a short with this top. Now tell me in the comment section, would you like me to make a full tutorial for this short too? Please let me know below. Now go grab all your pattern making tools and your fabric. Let's dive right into it. So to start drafting patterns for our shawl collar top, the first thing we're going to do would be for us to trace out our bodice block, our front and our back bodice block. I'd already traced out mine. And then you're going to lengthen it according to your desired length of top. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to eliminate these shoulder darts because we don't need these darts. And to do that, we're going to move this dart to our under arm. So somewhere around here. So this is my bust line. So we're going to move this dart here. And that is pretty easy. So we're going to slash through this line up to this point. And then we'll slash one of the legs of the dart up to this point as well. So we can close it up. So you just overlap it nicely like so. And then you just close it up. Now you don't want your dart tip to be directly on top of your apex or your nipple. So you're going to measure from here, from your nipple or the apex. You're going to measure say about 2 or 3 cm. I'm using 3 cm. And then you're going to just redraw your dart legs nicely like so. So this is going to be your dart tip here. Okay? And then you're going to fold your darts. So the next thing we're going to do now is you're going to determine where you want your neckline to stop, how deep you want your neckline to stop. That is going to be like our break point. So if you want it really deep, you come down a little bit. I don't want mine too deep. So I'm going to measure from my bust point here or my bust line. I'm going to measure about 4 cm upwards like so. So this is where I want my bust. This is where I want my break line or my collar to start from, okay? So the next thing would be for us to draw our button extension. Now, the button extension is about 2.5 cm or 3 cm. So for this tutorial, I'll be using 2.5 cm. Okay, so this part here is my button extension, while this part here is my center front line. Good. So I'm going to add a paper here so that I can draw my shawl collar nicely. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do now is you're going to take your back bodies and then you're going to measure the back neckline. So this is my back bodies and then I'm just going to measure the neckline. So place your measuring tape like so and then measure from one end all the way down to the other end. Okay, I have 8 cm. Good. So now we are going to draw our row line. Now remember your neckline measurements, the back neckline measurements that you measured. So you're going to place you're going to connect this point to this point like so. First of all, connect it in a slant like so. Okay, good. Now the next thing is from here upwards will be the measurement of your back neckline so we can draw our collar. So mine was 8 cm. So I'm going to measure from here now upward 8 cm. All right, good. So the next thing we're going to do now is you are going to measure from here now. You're going to measure it backwards. From here, measure backwards, say about 1.3 cm or about 1.5 cm. Just measure it like that. Just small like that. Okay? And then you're going to use your French curve and then connect it nicely to this point. Connect this point to this point nicely in a slight curve. All right, so the next thing you're going to do now will be for us to determine how wide we want our collar width to be. How wide do you want it to be? And then you're going to measure it here. I'm going to be using 8 cm. So from here outwards like that, 8 cm. Now you can make yours a bit smaller or you can make it wider. It really depends on you. But I'm using 8 cm. So from here to here now is 8 cm. Good. Now once you've done that, the next thing is we're going to draw the shape of our collar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pencil to draw my first to see if I really like it. Then if I like it, I'm going to now draw it with a pen. So first of all, I'm just going to mark from here now. The width of my collar from here will be, say, about 15 cm. Okay, this paper is slightly small. I will need to add a little bit to this part. So I'm going to measure in a slanted form from here to here now, say about 15 cm. Now this one depends on how you really want it. You can make yours slightly wider or you can make yours slightly smaller. It really depends on you. Okay, good. So the next thing would be for me to connect this point now to this point, my collar. So connect it together using your pencil. So I'm connecting it. So this is going to be the shape of my collar. Now if you don't want it straight, which I don't really think I like it straight, then you can use your French curve to just give it the shape you like. You can maybe slant it a little bit or curve it a little bit. Yes, I think curving it a little bit will be better. So I'm going to curve this a little bit like that. Aha. So you can do whatever you like here. Okay. And then on this side, I also want to curve it a little bit. So you see why I was using a pencil. So I just want to curve it, give it a little curve here. So I'm going to erase the part I don't really like. Okay, so I'm going to have something like this. Now once you're happy with the shape of your collar, you can use your marker to redraw it nicely. So you're going to have something like this. Now you want your collar to relax very well. So the next thing you're going to do is we're going to draw slash lines. So we're going to draw about 4 slash lines, but our slash lines will be from here. So let me draw a straight line. That's from the shoulder tip here. I'm just going to draw a straight line. So from here to here, I just drew a straight line, and now I'm going to draw my slash lines. So I'm going to divide this point from here to here now into 4 parts. Now let me use a pen so you can see it very well. So I'm just going to divide this part now into 4 parts so that I can spread it out very nicely. So once you draw your slash lines, now you are going to slash them out. Now you're going to cut them from this part. Now first of all, before we cut it, let me cut out the outline of this top so that you can see it very well before we actually slash and spread it out. Okay. So we're going to have something like this. This is how our top is going to look like. Now we're going to spread out, cut through our slash lines and then spread them out. So I'm going to cut this one first, but I'm not going to cut it through. I'm just going to cut through. I'm just going to slash from the collar edge. So I'm just going to place it on a plain sheet of paper now and then spread them out. Okay, so now you're going to spread them out, say about 1.5 cm or 1 cm, depending on how wide you want it to be. Okay. Okay, so now you're going to blend in this curve very well. Okay, and then you trim off the excess paper. And so here we go, we have our shawl collar. So we're going to ignore this waist dart, because this top is a free top, but if you want it more fitted, then you can actually take in your dart, as in hold it or stitch it when you are sewing. Okay, but this particular one we are going to stitch it. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a facing for this top. Okay, so you're going to just determine, I'm going to mark my facing from here. So you can just, facing is quite easy. You can just use your, yeah. So the width of my facing is about 8 cm. All right, so you can make yours wider or slightly smaller. It really depends on you. So the whole of this part here is going to be our facing. So you're going to add your shawl collar to it, like so, like this. So this is going to be our facing. Good. Now let's get to the back side. And so for the back side, the only thing we need to do for the back side is for us to create the facing, the back facing. So we're also going to ignore this waist dart for the back side, because it's a free top. And then for this little shoulder dart, it's about 1 cm. You're going to take off this value here, take it off from the shoulder tip like this, so that we can cancel these darts. So I'm just going to take that off and then blend it in nicely to our armhole. Okay, then I'm going to trim it off. I'm going to create a facing for the back neckline. Facing is very easy, so you determine how deep you want your facing to be. So from here to here, I use about 8 cm. So you mark, and then I'm going to connect this point to this point. All right, so no big deal. All right, so this is going to be our back facing. Okay, and then for the sleeve is just a regular basic sleeve. So this is going to be my sleeve. You're going to just trace out your sleeve block, and then you're going to shorten it or lengthen it depending on the look you want. I want this to be a short sleeve, so I shorten my basic sleeve And that's basically what I've done here. All right, so you're going to place your pattern pieces on your fabric and then cut them out. Now remember to add your seam allowance all around it, 1.5 cm seam allowance all around, and then for the hem, 3 cm hem allowance. Now for the back side, we're going to cut it on fold. So you're going to place the back side on the folded edge of your fabric. So for the front facing, you're going to cut 2 pieces, all right? So now we're ready to start stitching, and the first thing we're going to do would be for us to stitch the darts. So you're going to take your front pattern piece and then you're going to go stitch your dart, all right, and give it a very good press. So once you finish stitching the dart, press it towards the hem, okay, and then you're going to iron on fusible for your collar and the button extension. So you can see how I did mine. So just cut a little fusible like that, following the pattern like that for your collar all the way down to the button extension, so that it will be a little bit sturdy on those areas for the 2 front parts. And then you can also do the same thing for the facing. You see my facing, the front facing. So you're also going to cut fusible and then iron on your fusible like that, all right? And then for the back facing, you are also going to iron on your fusible as well, all right? So the next thing for us to do now would be for us to place the 2 front parts together. So with the right side facing the right side, we are going to join them at the center back neckline. So you see this, the back neckline, place them together, the collars, and then you're going to stitch from here all the way down to the other end, and then you open press your seam allowance. You're going to do exactly the same thing for the facing as well, the front facing. So place. So once you've stitched this, you're going to have something like this. Now you're going to take your scissors and then you're going to snip this edge like this. Snip it, something like that, but do not cut on the stitches. And then on this other side, you're going to do exactly the same thing. Okay, now you're going to take your back side and then join it, the back neckline. You're going to join it, the back neckline and the shoulders together. So match the center back and our seam here. Use your pins to hold them together in place. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and then pin the shoulders, the neckline, all the way down to the shoulder. And then you're going to do exactly the same thing for this other side. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and join like this, and like that, okay? So when you stitch, you're going to stitch with the front side facing you. It's easier that way. So you stitch from the shoulder, one side of the shoulder, all the way down like that. When you get to these corners here, you're going to lift up your presser foot and leave your needle inside, okay? Make sure you arrange the back side very well so that it doesn't have gathers, okay? Okay, once you get to that needle point, that corner's there, leave your needle inside, lift up your presser foot, push this, the back side a little bit, adjust it a little bit, like so that it doesn't have gathers. Okay, and then you continue stitching. So again, when you get to these corners, you leave your needle inside, lift up your presser foot, adjust this a little bit, and then you continue stitching. Okay, so let's see how it looks. Okay, so you see the corners. It's looking nice and neat. Okay, good. So once you're happy with the way it is, you can give this a little snip so that it will relax very well. So let me snip it a little bit, and then you can also snip this as well. Aha, so that it will relax very well. And now you take it to your ironing board and then give it a very good press. Okay, so now the next thing you're going to do would be to join the side seams. Before you join the side seams, be sure to overlock your raw edges so that you have a very clean finishing. So now you're going to take it to the ironing board and then open press your seam allowance. So once you finish joining the side seam, the next thing would be for you to attach your sleeves. So get a sleeve of your choice and then attach it to it, okay? So once you finish attaching your sleeves, the next thing you're going to do would be for us to finish off this neckline with our facing. So you're going to take your facing. Now remember to join the back facing to the front facing, just the way we did the back side of this and the front part. Okay, so you join the back facing to your neck facing, to your front facing rather, and now we are going to use our facing to turn the front, okay, or to turn our neckline and our collar. Good. So you're going to place them together. This is our facing and this is our top. So you're going to place them together here, the collar edge, place them together with the seams matching themselves. And then you're going to use your pins to hold them together in place like so. And then you're going to pin these all down. Pin these from one end all the way down to the other end, all the way down to the hemline. All right? And then we are going to go ahead to stitch. So I'm going to start stitching from one end of the hem, but I'm going to leave a slight opening here, say from here to here, say about 5 cm or slightly more. We are going to come back to it later, okay? So while you stitch, just follow the shape of your collar very nicely, okay? So now you're going to trim off this seam allowance, reduce it a little bit so that it will reduce the bulk. And on this side, these sharp corners here, you're just going to give it a little snip. So cut it like this and then snip off these edges so that you can turn it very nicely, okay? And then you give it a very good press. So when you finish pressing your collar, you're going to have something like this, nice and neat, right? Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is, you see your facing and the collar, your facing and your top, they are separated like this and it's not looking nice. So we're going to attach them together. So you place this is my facing, place them together on the neckline like this. Use your pins to hold them together in place, just like so. Okay, so once you've pinned them together like this, you're going to go ahead to stitch it. You're going to stitch very close to the stitch line, okay? So to finish off our hem, just go ahead and fold your hem allowance in. Fold it in one time, then fold it in again a second time, okay? And then on this side, on the center front side, you see this is my facing. Just tuck it in like this. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Tuck it in like this and use this your hem allowance to cover it nicely like this. You see what I've done? Now you're going to have excess like this. So we're going to trim off these excess, okay? So we trim off this excess, so we're going to just fold it in like this. You see, so that you can have a very nice and clean finishing. Now on this edge here, you see this part here, make sure you go and stitch it close all the way down to the end. All right, once you finish stitching it close, give it a very good press, and then on this side fold it in very nicely such that you can fold it in like this. I hope you get it. So once you fold it in like this, you're not going to stitch from one end all the way down to the other end. You're going to do exactly the same thing for the other side, okay? Okay, so once you finish, you're going to have something like this. You're going to go ahead and give it a very good press, and then you're going to mark your buttonholes and install your buttons. All right? So once you finish making your buttonholes, before you cut open your buttonholes, let me quickly show you what I use to prevent my buttonholes from fraying. So this is what I use. It's called the fray block. Like, it's really very nice. It prevents your buttonholes from fraying. Okay, let me show you how I use it. So you just open it a little bit, open it like this, and then you put just a little bit on your buttonholes. Don't worry, it doesn't leave marks or stains at all. So place it like this, okay? And then on the back side, you also apply a little bit like so, okay? It doesn't stain, so no worries about that. And it dries very quickly. You see, it has already dried off. Now you take your blade or whatever, seam ripper, whatever you use to open your buttonholes, and then you just cut open your buttonholes. So you see, when you cut open your buttonhole, you see that there are no frays at all. It doesn't fray. It really prevents it from fraying. So this fray block is a game changer. Like, this is what I always use. If you want it, I'll drop the link for you in the description box below. Okay, I would advise that you go get one. It is affordable. Okay, good. So the next thing will be for you to go ahead and sew on your buttons. Once you've done that, you're actually done with your shawl collar top. Easy peasy, right? Now let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this tutorial and if it was simple enough for you to follow. Now I also made a matching short for this top so that it will be a set. So I made a very simple short. Yes, so this is my shorts with elastic waistband and then inseam pockets. Very simple and easy to make. Now, if you want me to drop a tutorial for this short, Please let me know in the comment section. Just tell me to drop the tutorial and I will drop the tutorial next. Thanks to all those who voted for this shawl collar top. I really enjoy this project and I hope you enjoy yours as well. I'll be posting again very soon on our community post. Please do well to share your votes as well. All right? Thank you so much. I'll see you in my next class. Bye-bye.